I'd like to call the Columbia Borough Council regular meeting to order, June 9th, 2026 at 7 p.m. We are following Resolution 2026-16 on rules in the decorum of public meetings. So if anybody hasn't signed the sign-up sheet and wants to sign up for non-agenda items, please sign up now. All right. Roll call, please. Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Here. Thank you. Is there anybody who'd like to give an invitation? We can all rise for a moment of silence. And keep in your hearts and minds, we lost an employee last week to Lisa Brown, and it affects everybody. So, thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda? Hearing none, I have a motion to approve the agenda as published.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as published this evening.
I have a motion by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Cooper, to approve the agenda as published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Citizen comments. Our first commenter is Edwin Lentz at 7:03.
Hello, my name's Edwin Lentz. I live out on Franklin Street. Been out there now 35 years. I've been in town here 48. I'm going to compliment, talk about a bunch of things that I've been noticing that's going on in the town because I'm retired. I watch my 7-month-old grandbaby, and I get time to read and look things up. Last weekend, the other week when we had the meeting on the AI Center out there was a lot of facts there that were presented that were very good. If you watched this morning on the news, they were also talking about how much heat that these centers create. Before you go to sell that property, I would think that you'd sit down with the community and try to put some ordinances in place that they have to follow as far as sound. Because if you got someone getting arrested in town for a loud boom box, you're going to have a center out there that's going to be worse than a loud boom box. And if any of you guys don't believe me, let me bring a boom box and sit on your front porch for a while. You won't like me. And that's not the intent. The intent is try to keep this community and get it together and get it going, as it's been doing with everything else. And with Holly here, I'd like to congratulate you for what you've done. I've talked to you a few times. I know you don't know who I am, but this town needs to move on. And we need to do it in a respectful way and stop everybody you talk to, everybody I know that's outside of town. Where do you live? I say Columbia. Oh, God. No, it's not that bad. We have the same problems you have, except we don't make as much money as you. We don't do things like we do. And as far as that airfield out there, I've been listening to what and how much money was spent there. $6.5 million isn't going to cover that expense out there.
Yes, it will.
Yes, it does.
Okay, I'll go over some things with you. How much you paid for the property?
1.5.
No, 1.4.
Okay, how much it was owed in back taxes?
We have to pay because.
Now, when we were at a meeting before that, not too much before that, he was saying he was $1 million in back taxes. So that would put us at about 2.5 million.
That's not accurate.
It's not
Okay, well, we'll say 1.5 then. We paid 5 million to redo the field.
We didn't.
Then how did it get done?
Not with that much money, no. We paid about 1.9 at this point.
See, there again. Somebody put out information that was supposed to be $5 million, and it didn't get cleaned up. All they did out there is move the dirt around.
Ed, let me stop you there for a second.
Okay.
They did clean up. They did. They removed a lot of dirt from the site as well.
I didn't see them moving any dirt.
No, they didn't.
They didn't?
Uh-huh.
No, they didn't. No,
We did
no.
not take dirt.
The dirt was removed and replaced. None was exported.
Okay.
The goal of the project, as you stated, the dirt was moved around. The goal of the project was to stabilize the dirt because the fill that was on site was loosely placed, which was fine for an airport at the time.
Yeah.
But it isn't suitable for construction of any hardscape improvements out there, whether it's a
That's why you
large
dug
building or a
40-foot
house.
holes?
Excuse me?
That's why you dug 40-foot deep holes?
That's correct.
You know,
Because
I was looking at that going, they don't have to invest more money. We have a pool.
the
You
holes
know?
were roughly, I mean, again, I don't think we went down any further than 25 feet in any area, but the goal of the project was that was the original grade. So we had to strip that much earth to get down to the actual historic
Yeah,
grade of the
and I
property where it
understand
was
that.
stabilized. So,
Yeah.
so what you saw out there was
Yeah,
They-
and
they
I've
strip
worked
down
with
and
chemicals and
repackage.
I've read what they do. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been around chemicals most of my life in jobs that I've done.
chemicals.
Yeah,
Okay.
hazardous chemicals,
Yeah,
hazardous waste.
There's
It's all the same.
And I don't want to take up your time.
Okay.
One other thing I do want to note though is there was a number, we received a grant loan from BIOS
Mhm.
for approximately $9 million. Not quite 9 million, it was close. Okay? We never used that whole thing. As Heather said, we're like 1.9 of that whole project.
Okay, all
So
right.
it-
Because maybe that's what I was seeing.
the 9
Because I come up with
million-
like $9
yes.
million with the other
Yes.
properties you bought,
Yeah,
they're running in and out and stuff.
yeah, no.
And then let me ask you another question.
Sure.
I talked to somebody the other day, and like I said, this is someone telling me, I don't know if it's true. But the street I live on, Franklin, I live where Franklin and, can't think of the name of the street comes in there, it's an alley. What's that? Yeah, no, I lived in Avenue N at one time. No, it comes out where, I don't know if your relatives live on the other side of the street there.
High Street.
Burns, yeah, the Burns. They're saying, this person told me that there's talk about running the highway down through that street there, down to 441.
No.
They keep the truck
I've never heard that.
Good, because you would be buying my house if that would happen, because that street's too small to even think
Um,
about it.
The bridge isn't, 441 access would be wonderful, but the bridge that you
Yeah,
have
hinders that, yes. I drove
can't
up
handle
it.
that
I know.
kind of traffic.
So, and that's what I'm saying. And we need so much to look at what's going on. Everyone's saying our school. I pulled up the statistics of the graduating class of 225. We have a graduating class at 225, and I pulled up other schools with number 22 out of 50. Our graduating class, 24% efficient in math, 43% efficient in reading. If you're graduating 100 kids, most of them are coming out not even getting ready for the job market. You know,
Again, and I understand that, but this is not school.
I
board.
know, I'm just saying, we need to come together as a community
Yes. I
and
do.
start functioning here. If you need help doing something, ask the community to jump in and help. You know, we'll help you get facts, we'll help you run things down. We just can't say, oh, it's gotta be this way.
Right.
We gotta look at our whole community. I mean, it's a very diverse community, and we are human, we all make mistakes. Live up to your mistakes and get help. Get the help you need within the community. And I think you'll find things will go a lot smoother. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next presenter is Kathy Hamilton at 7:12.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Embleton. I have lived in Columbia since 1995 and raised my daughter here. She attended our public schools and is now an English teacher at the high school. I purchased my home in 2009. I spent hours preparing a fact-based 10-minute presentation with links to support all of the information provided to address the zoning of the McGinnis property, the proposed data center ordinance that, in my opinion, falls well short of protecting residents, the need for transparency, and potential problems with the RFP. The presentation was emailed to all council members days ago. I have almost completely scrapped it. While I still need to briefly address the RFP, as council evidently intends on using the same one they used in March and will be voting on advertising it tonight, I decided it's imperative to spend most of my time addressing the glaring problem facing this borough, the real possibility that council will push through the sale of the McGinnis property to a developer intent on building a data center. First, to get the RFP issues out of the way. Remarkably, there were two different versions of the RFP on two different pages of the Columbia Borough website when advertised in March. The one that was approved by council did not state that the full purchase price was to be paid within 60 days of bid acceptance. The other one did. This should not happen again, but to be clear, the one that is being voted on tonight is the same one approved by council without the 60-day requirement. Sadia Holdings evidently has some financial concerns pertaining to pending lawsuits, and a resident at the May 26 meeting asked why our RFP didn't ask for that information. It seems to me that is a reasonable request. If we're counting on $850,000 per year in tax revenue, shouldn't we be reasonably sure that the developer will pay the property taxes? I'm a retired credit manager. All credit applicants were asked to answer the following two questions. Has the applicant or any of its associated entities filed for bankruptcy protection in the last 7 years? If so, please provide specific details. Does the applicant or any of its associated entities have any open judgment suits or liens against it? If so, please provide specific details. Wouldn't and shouldn't the answers to these two questions substantially impact our decision on a sale? Additionally, the RFP is materially different from the legal notice posted to advertise the last RFP. This creates a lot of confusion and potential conflicts. The Columbia Spy did a good job pointing out the discrepancies. They include the bid opening date, the award timeline, the payment instrument for the deposit, the full payment deadline, the bid withdrawal restriction, closing cost, and the borough's right to reject. Council should adopt a new RFP consistent with the legal notice and requiring more financial information before voting to advertise the RFP again. Now back to the main issue at hand. While I understand the financial need to sell the McGinnis property, I believe Columbia Borough residents have made their voices heard loud and clear in their opposition to a data center being built in our community. Approximately 600 residents showed up at the May 26 council meeting, nearly all opposed to the sale to Sadia Holdings, citing concerns about plummeting property values, noise, increasing ambient temperature, water usage, increasing electric bills, damage to the environment, altering borough character, and the limited number of permanent jobs created. A petition to stop the sale garnered nearly 1,500 signatures. I may be wrong, and I apologize if I am, but I believe the plan to sell McGinnis for use as a data center began last year when council enacted Ordinance 957 of 2025 in August, adding data centers as a permitted use by right in the light business and light industrial, general industrial zones. The McGinnis property is zoned light business, enabling a developer to erect a data center on the property. Interestingly, warehousing in the same ordinance is listed as special exemption for the McGinnis property, making it easier and less costly for a data center to be constructed on the parcel than a warehouse. This is from the Lancaster County Planning Commission's guide. Any data center permitting should not align with long-term municipal land policies. Municipalities wishing to encourage such development or redevelopment could streamline approvals by permitting data centers by right. In contrast, those seeking to limit data center development, especially in environmentally sensitive areas, should require special exception or conditional use permits. This process enables municipalities to evaluate site-specific impacts, require facility design standards, establish environmental performance metrics, and set operational requirements that are generally acceptable to the local community. By permitting data centers by right, we are actually encouraging such development, completely opposite to the expressed desires of the residents of this community. There is a misconception propagated by council at the June 2nd meeting that the borough can't do anything about keeping a data center out of the McGinnis property because there is a state law stating that we can't ban data centers through zoning. Council is not telling us the whole truth. While it is true that Columbia cannot completely ban data centers through zoning, we are not required to make currently available parcels permitted for that use if data centers are permitted either by right or special exception for at least one other property in the borough. That property is the ASC parcel, which is zoned general industrial with data centers permitted by right. It is interesting to note that the Lancaster County Planning Commission held a meeting on May 11th, 2026. I believe Heather is a member of the commission and attended the meeting. The McGinnis property was conspicuously absent from the county's data center map of suitable locations presented at the meeting and in the commission's planning guide. County official explained that the parcel is not located along electric transmission lines and is considered too far from adequate electrical infrastructure. However, a parcel abutting Malleable Road, and which I believe is most likely the AFC property, does appear on the county map and was noted as being near transmission lines, a key factor in data center site selection. It would be possible, if council has the will, to completely prevent a data center from being built on the McGinnis property. It should change the zoning for data centers to not permitted for light business, McGinnis, and permitted with special exception for general industrial, ASC, thus addressing our immediate need to prevent a developer from building a data center on the McGinnis property, protecting as much as possible the ASC property for the future, and also satisfying our legal obligation. But this needs to happen before advertising an RFP for the property again. I have serious concerns about what may happen if we redid the property without changing the zoning. Heather was quoted in the LMP article published this morning. Under state law, if council puts the property out for bid 2 times and neither one draws an acceptable offer, it can negotiate directly with buyers. Without the 60-day requirement, the Sadia deal may be right back on the table. Now council is telling us, don't worry, it won't be a large data center. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't trust the developer and I don't trust council to protect us from the negative consequences of a data center. I don't believe the residents of this community do either. We don't want a data center, period. What about the council's goal of creating jobs in the community that was again reiterated in the LNP interview? That is a pipe dream if we sell the property for use as a data center. I believe we are marching forward, but with devastating consequences awaiting us. The residents weren't paying attention when the zoning was changed last year, but we are now. And before anyone on council tries to convince us that this is our only option since we have only one interested party, let me ask why we can't reduce the minimum bid. Do we really need to clear $3.2 million? Are we willing to sell the soul of the borough for a little extra cash? Tom has already publicly stated that he cannot support a data center being built on the McGinnis property. I am calling for 3 more council members to do the right thing and respect the wishes of your constituents. I would like to see a vote tonight on amending the zoning ordinance passed last year so that data centers are not permitted in the light business zone. Is anyone willing to make that motion? Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Bessa at 7:20.
First of all, I would like to also say this woman is very, very, very good. I had reason to call her to my home one time, and she responded very quickly and politely and listened, which was a nice change of pace. I'm here to say that I'm opposed to the AI Center for a lot of different reasons. All of them have been stated, but I moved here about 30 years ago, and it was a a nice little community. I'm originally from Brooklyn, and I taught over in Eastern New York, and I moved here because it was close to school, but there was a river separating me from my clientele. So it was a nice buffer. And I've had a very nice experience here, and I think in the period I've lived here, there have been a lot of nice changes made to Columbia, a lot of them down at the river, a lot of them in town, a lot of nice stores are moving in, places that you could eat, restaurants, all kinds of updates. And all of that is good. If we get this data center in here, nobody's going to want to live here. My brother lives in New York State. They built one of these centers in a very nice community near his home, and the value of the homes plummeted. The water quality, farmers that had been farming land for generations could no longer farm their land. Animals were getting sick. I'm not a scientist, and one of the things that I watched the meeting from home last time because I was not able to come to the meeting. What's obvious to me is that we need to study this a lot more than we have. I don't know anything about the McGinnis property except that it used to be an airport. I have to say I've been very lax about keeping up on this stuff. And after I listened to what was going on the other day, I thought, well, I can't be critical unless I show up myself. I'm happy to see tonight that people are being much more polite. I taught 8th grade, and when I retired after 35 years, I didn't think I would ever see the debacle that I saw at that meeting last time. We can disagree without being ugly to each other.
Thank you.
One of the things, and this goes along with what Kathy was saying, but in a much less technical manner, there are things that I'm not a lawyer. I'm a retired school teacher. I know enough to say that I'm not an expert at this. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings here, but I don't think any of you are experts either. And I think that you need to get some experts involved to safeguard the community. You walk around Columbia, some of the suggestions that were given last time didn't seem plausible. You have to make money on that land. I get that. There's an impact no matter what you do. I get that. But it seemed very obvious that the people in Columbia, most of the people living here, do not want this center in our midst. And it's going to be up to the borough to make sure that that can't happen. So I would implore you, before you make a decision, to do exactly what she said. Redo what's going out for bid. Get some experts who do know about this involved and protect the town, because it's not going to be the same if you do this. No one's going to want to live here.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Robert Thompson. 724.
My name's Robert Thompson. I live at 832 Blunston Street. We bought our property about 10 years ago. 12 now, I guess. First off, Holly, I still very much owe you a very public apology. I have been very critical and very loud about your department. I still actually owe you a legitimate and public apology. That is not going to happen. Sorry. I actually thought you guys were going to limit us to like 4 minutes or something like that. All of that to say.
Robert, can I stop you there for a second? I've been associated with some of these emails. I appreciate your apology.
Thank you. Thank you. However, we have had enough. The citizens of this borough have borne the burden of drivers, the inattentive drivers, and just the ridiculousness that our streets are. It's dangerous to walk out there these days. I'm going to take my glasses off and give you a writ. I'm going to read the speech because I'm a little nervous now. Thought I wouldn't do that. We're tired of feeling unsafe in our own streets. We're tired of being treated like we are the obstacles in the street. Parents should be able to walk their children from one end of this borough to the other and back without having a constant fear of a driver who's not paying attention, doing something dumb, just being weird, or simply just doesn't care. But right now, that's not our reality. That's not a reality in this town. We're not safe on these streets. Right now, we have to remain constantly vigilant just to move through our own neighborhoods. That's not right. That's not fair. Columbia is a walking town. All of our children are required to walk or be taken by their parents' vehicle or whatever. Some of them are as young as 6 years old. In this borough, as a parent, when my child turns 6, I can sign off on him walking to school by himself. That means we have 6-year-olds out there that are crossing Lancaster Avenue with no help. That is unacceptable. This has to start with a change in attitude. We need to change the way we perceive our streets, our sidewalks, and our responsibilities to one another. Columbia has broad avenues and incredibly wide streets. In some places, they look designed to accommodate a 4-lane highway. Why? If anybody wonders, it's trolleys. I didn't know that. Why are so many of our streets built around the convenience of vehicles instead of the safety of pedestrians? Why are we so unfriendly to walkers in a town where walking is a part of daily life? I walk everywhere. Most of these people walk everywhere in this town. Jesse walks every block in this town. I'd like to see you guys start walking this borough too. Speaking from experience, unfortunately. Twice now I've been struck by a vehicle in this town, in this borough. One time I was crossing Cherry Street and I was recording the driver. He was making the legal U-turn from Cherry onto Bethel, backing out, coming down the street. He accelerated towards me, swerved to hit me. I have it on video. I gave this to the police department. Do you know what the police department did to me? Threatened to cite me with criminal mischief. Not you. I recognize you were there at the time. You did, however, respond. You saw the video. You recognized I was a witness. You gave me the case number for that incident. And then the borough shut me down, would not give me the driver's information, which I am entitled to legally if I'm struck by a vehicle in this borough. The driver of that vehicle is required by law to stop, render aid, and provide me with his insurance. You guys have failed to give me have denied both of my FOIA requests now for his insurance information. I know the guy's name. I know the guy's address. I have his phone numbers. I know everywhere he's ever lived. I have his insurance information. But you guys are required by law to give it to me, and you won't. I digress. Sorry. This guy hit me 2 weeks after I had shoulder surgery. I had my rotator cuff repaired. A lot of you guys probably saw me walking around 1 week with one shoulder in a sling, and the next week with another shoulder in a sling. That cost me another 8 months of rehab. I paid for that, and you guys still won't give me his insurance information. The second time I was struck, I was walking back from Wise's with my kids. I was crossing 16th Street in a crosswalk. I got struck by a blue truck that then followed my wife and my kids home. He crept down Lancaster Avenue at about 3 miles an hour. When your force showed up, they didn't stop him and question him and bother him. They stopped and questioned and bothered me. Why? Again, you're really new into this, so it's really hard to hold you truly accountable for what is probably that gentleman's bug up. Sorry. Apologies. I apologize. Moving on. The most recent time, 16th Street, I was wearing a body cam. So I have that on camera. I've offered it to you guys, but I don't think you'll do anything about it. So yes, we absolutely need a change in perception here. We need to stop treating pedestrian safety as an inconvenience. We need to stop treating people walking through town as if they're the problem. And that change has to include the police department. The little faith this community has left in their police is hanging by a thread. I swear to God it is, and you don't want to listen. They need to be better. You need to do better. That brings me to staffing. Our crossing guards are horribly understaffed. Our police are horribly understaffed. Our schools are horribly understaffed. So what I'm asking for, my ask here, is that the borough reconsider a certain code that you have in place. This is Borough Code 207-4. It gives specifically police officers the right to cross traffic, to act as traffic directors out there. But because of its wording where police officers have that capability and that authority, institutes like our fire department won't show up. They read that as the police have the right and they do not. So what I'm asking the borough to do is either have request the mayor, because you have the authority to simply say, yes, the fire department can cross traffic. That is flat out part of your authority in all of this. And if he won't do it, I'm asking you guys to just amend the code to say, hey, when we don't have enough crossing guards, let's go ahead and call the fire department. Let's get one of those guys down there, have them cross. I don't think that's a difficult ask.
I just,
For the-
seconds, I just want to apologize because that completely fell off my
You're
radar
fine.
in everything that
You're
I've
fine.
been
You
trying
were
to
fine.
take care of.
You were fine.
That completely fell off
Trust
my
me,
radar.
you and I talk about a lot of things. I don't necessarily need you to keep on track of every single one. I'm an information guy. I like information. Right now, my wife has created it's not quite a nonprofit yet, but you guys heard her speak at the last, the last borough meeting, Columbia Walks. We are trying to create a system where you guys can report back to us the condition of our sidewalks, unsafe streets. If you see, I don't know, police officers blowing through town, running red lights without their lights on, those are things we would love to see come into us so that we can report back to the proper authority, so we can tell the borough council, these are where your safety issues are. We have gone so far as to attempt to address major trip hazards on sidewalks, minor trip hazards on sidewalks, and owner addressed trip hazards on sidewalks. And we would like to present the information to the borough that you guys can act on, where you don't necessarily have to be punitive of anybody who is actively taking measures to protect us, to make their sidewalks better. But ultimately, this all comes down to us just needing to be better people to each other. Stop driving like there's a fire you have to get to. These are kids crossing the street. I don't even want to talk about scooters because that's a whole other issue. However, that was what I had to say. I do have a couple extra questions if anybody minds answering them real quick. Am I out of time? Real quick, clarification on his number, the first gentleman's numbers, were those accurate for our English scores and our math scores? Now to get everybody mad at me, I actually
Search on LNP because they always post those. They always post them.
now I'm going to lose all of my community support. I'm going to say that I don't think we have a data center coming here. I think there's a lot of bad information out there. I know that there's discussion about a possible data center. As an insider, I can tell you there are no major companies looking to put a data center here. They don't want 40 acres. They want 4,000 acres. That's all I have to say about data centers. Thank you for your.
Hey, Robert,
Yes, sir.
the code you brought up,
207-4.
Yeah, I have it written. I have it written.
207, here, I'll give it to you guys. I actually have it here. 207-4 is the police officers of the borough. You're not giving them high-risk borough intersections thereof. That's all it reads as.
okay, thank you.
Police officers.
Correct.
Yeah, that's true. Officers do cover whenever they can, and there is the crossing guard missing.
That's right.
You need to expand the
I didn't
definition.
say that. I didn't argue with that at all. I know she's done a fantastic, for the record. I made one complaint to Holly. She fixed it, or began to. That's the correct fire. Include the fire department,
Right.
not be inclusive of only the police, but to expand that to be
Okay, no,
inclusive of. It doesn't necessarily have to be fire police. For the record, fire police are what they call them when they're trained by the state to direct traffic. A funeral director also has that authority. Not that I've ever asked you to do that, but these are weird rules that we have, and we might as well exercise them. If we're so horribly understaffed, give this woman the power. Give her the help she needs. If she is actively taking measures to protect us out there, it's your responsibility to make sure she has the resources to do that.
Thank you, Robert.
Put your money where your mouth is. Out there. Thank you. Hey, Jesse. Thank you, everyone.
Our next speaker is Jesse Slider at 7:36.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody tonight? Thank you. I just have a few questions. I'll make it really short. Number one, are you guys confiscating scooters yet? On this whole, are you able to confiscate these scooters when people do a violation and you catch them? Because I heard that you can. So, are we going to start confiscating scooters? Do you need to get permission from your boss to confiscate scooters? Can she confiscate scooters? Thank you. Okay, second question. I see Lancaster newspapers just sitting over there along the wall in that paper. Is that a designated press spot, Jack? Like, can we go sit over there too if he's not there? So we could sit over there if we wanted to where he's at, right? Okay, two more questions. This is for the council. Can council clarify whether zoning changes will be considered to prevent uses like data centers that don't align with Columbia's identity as a river town?
Council is looking at,
Council is actively working on legislation related to data centers.
Okay,
We're
next.
actively working on a zoning change, a zoning ordinance to incorporate the guardrails for a data center and also to change the table of permitted uses.
Thank you, Heather. Next question, the very last question. I won't waste any more time. Okay. Is a tax increase being considered this year? And if so, when will residents be told? Anybody?
I'll answer.
Thank you.
We are going through a reassessment this year, so taxes will automatically go up next year for everybody across the board. At our current financial state, we may have to talk about taxes. Taxes don't start, the budget doesn't start till July, budget talks. So in July, September timeframe is when we'll actually sit down and start talking about the budget. Yes, we are up against the wall financially.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
Can I clarify something?
Yes.
I don't mean to contradict you. However, the reassessment does not mean that taxes go up automatically. When the reassessment happens, we are required to lower the millage to be tax neutral.
Right.
What we can do is then add a second action to raise the tax millage by no more than 10% over the current year. So it doesn't mean it is a given, just because of the reassessment. Yes, your taxes would go up if it was kept at the current millage, but we are required to lower the millage to be tax neutral. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. You're correct. Frank Altrick at 7:39.
Thank you all. probably heard me say different times, Columbia's going to the dogs. I use some different language, but that's really, I'll just use that in place of it. I'm wondering why not one person mentioned Lisa Brown passing away.
I didn't mention.
You mentioned it before we took
When was the funeral? Yes, that's my point. We had a meeting. I don't know when she passed away, but it was before the last meeting. I found out when I was on Facebook today. I know what they just did tonight, but it's after the fact. Why couldn't somebody have said that? That she was a good employee, worked for the borough, I don't know how many years. I seen the thing that they had in on her, all the data on her. But I would gladly went to the funeral. I thought she was a very good person, a good employee for the borough. But anyway, I wish somebody would have done that. And that's why when I see things like that, when I say Columbia's going to the dogs, why didn't somebody pick up on that? We have smart people here that could have brought that out. Also, the question to Eric, why did you take the cemetery and the decorum off the agenda?
Because it's a published statement. It's available for everybody to see.
Say that again.
It's published. Everybody can see it. Everybody go online and read the statement. This resolution is available to everybody.
Yeah, but you had that on going back when that was put on. It was easy to hammer Frank Altrick.
I got my goal is not to hammer people.
Whatever your goal is.
My goal is to have open communication.
You know how bad that last meeting was.
I do.
And you didn't have that. You didn't follow it. You did. It was, and I brought this out at the last meeting. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again, but it was a terrible, terrible meeting. And what this civility and decorum is, it would keep the people in line. And we had police there to do this, and they were waiting on a command, and that didn't happen. But anyway, I said, it ain't going to be like this tonight because I can't take two in that meeting. And I looked over at Mr. Ziegler, that was our solicitor, and there was another person had a suit on. I was sweating and I didn't have a suit on. And I felt bad for them. And the mayor had a suit on, I believe. And just to let that go like that, I'm really surprised, Eric, that you're still sitting in that seat. But anyway, my question is to Derek here on Walnut Street from 3rd to Front. They're redoing that street and they're making it one way going down to the river. So when you come off of the river, you come over the railroad tracks, you can go left or right. You can go north or south. You can't go straight up the street. If you go north, you've got a wide swing, you have a trailer on, you can make that. Now, how are you going to keep making that left? You have a wall there, you have the signal light post there, and how are you going to do that with a trailer on? What do you have planned for that? You know what I'm referring to. Yeah, you come out, and now you're going to make a right turn. You're going to make a right turn to go south. And you feel that's going to be okay now that you can't go straight up Walnut.
So I would rather have someone make a right-hand turn to go south while opposing traffic is stopped at a red light than I would having them make a right-hand turn on 3rd Street at a stop sign with no traffic control, which is what our current situation is. So I view that as an improvement to vehicles traveling south than what's currently happening, because we studied that intersection at 3rd and Walnut pretty heavily. There's quite a bit of crash data on that intersection, which is only stop controlled in 2 directions. That really led into the decision for which direction traffic should move, and it should be away from that intersection in town. due to the lack of the traffic light, the grade of the street, and the sight distance from the buildings. So that's a PennDOT designed intersection. That was a PennDOT designed traffic light. So it's currently approved for all turning movements.
Can I ask you a quick question? Is the line, the traffic coming north?
Yeah.
Is the line back a ways for them from the light?
There-
So that people coming out of there can get over into the left lane?
There
to
is,
make the right turn with the
there
traffic?
are, the only modifications proposed for that intersection is some striping that deals with carrying the bike lane from travel, I'll say down towards the road. If you're traveling on the bike lane or traveling on the new one-way, we're redoing the striping to clarify how you can cross the street on a bike. So we'll be from the future now, if you're on a bike, you'll be crossing with traffic at the light, not up on the sidewalk over the handicap ramp with that button. So there'll be better striping, there'll be better directions for how a bike can traverse that intersection. But otherwise, there are no modifications proposed otherwise. So we're not moving stop bars. We're not re-timing aside from, looking at cutting that one lane of traffic off. PennDOT designed those improvements down there with the ADA ramps. They designed the signal, and they determined where all those stop bars would go when the bypass project went in. So it's not a scope of our project to change anything that PennDOT put in.
If I may, when council, when we were looking at the design of that project, it was brought up about the right-hand turn. I even commented about the right-hand turn. I thought it would be difficult to make that right-hand turn, like you're saying, Frank, with that concrete wall there. We were assured at that time by people that used that, made that right-hand turn, and over and up the street or on down through the manor or whatever, that no, there's no problem making that turn. That's what the voters told us. I still question it, as you do, but I was assured by those people that there's no problem with them turning their truck and their trailer on a right-hand turn.
I would just note, if anyone, if they would feel more comfortable, you're more than able to use Heritage Drive and turn on the 441 at Union, or go straight across at the Union Street intersection. That's an option as well. Heritage is now a paved, open borough public street, so.
I didn't think about going down and up here. My only concern was before they had three ways to go. They go north, south, or they go straight up Walnut. But we don't have Walnut now, so that puts more traffic on north and south. And I still question that them turning right on there, being that there's going to be more traffic. Foot traffic, I wasn't looking at that. I know nothing about that, but I'm looking at the driving in it. And some people said some things to me that made me think about it. And I don't have a boat. It's not going to affect me, but I'm speaking for other people. It's hard to change that there because you have the light standard there. So I thought maybe you had something else in mind, and that's why I brought it up.
Now, again, because that was a PennDOT designed intersection on a PennDOT route, that's why you'll see our limit of work aside from paint, and we're gonna have to get up there to the light pole and actually move the traffic lights a little bit so they line up with lanes.
Okay.
Aside from doing that and painting lines, our work stops before the ADA ramp. So you'll see the limit of disturbance out there doesn't impact the ramps down near Coffee and Cream or along 441. We're not touching any of that right now.
Okay. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's an unwillingness for us to look at it, Frank. It's just not in scope right now. And I'd say if it becomes a problem, it's something we can talk to PennDOT about.
Okay. You people all know how I complain about the e-bikes, the scooters. Sitting here just now while the meeting was going on, a bike come up over the pedestal where you're walking the door, right straight down, right alongside. I know you got to be at the right place at the right time, but what are we doing to fix this problem. I feel like I'm in another country. I did spend a couple months over in Vietnam vacation, and I've seen a lot of things over there, but what are we doing to make our town? The mayor says safe streets. I'm sorry, I disagree with him on that, but what are we doing? Is anybody working on the problem? I don't see none of the kids get hurt. I don't see none of them get killed, but when school lets out, of course, school's done for the summer, but when it lets out, it's terrible uptown.
Argument there.
You can tell me, but my time's up. I had one or two more issues while I was on the McGinnis thing, but okay. I'd like to be respectable. Thank you.
Our next citizen comment is Joe Howard. You see him again?
On this 18th.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I haven't seen you for a while.
That is something.
Mayor Lutz and Borough Council members, thanks for allowing me to speak today. I own a property on Popper Street. I own the property on the corner of Fifth and Walnut. I was mowing my grass there on May 6th. And a locksmith pulled up on my sidewalk parallel to the road to fix a lock to the property beside mine. And when he seen my parking lot there, he decided to park in that. And when he did, he knocked over a pillar of cinder blocks. And, did minor damage. Okay. He pulled in my lot. I was there. I said, could you please at least put those back up? He told me to go F myself. Okay. So he went and fixed the lock, which didn't take long. All he had to do was open the door. He left in a few minutes. And on his way out, he was pretty, I can't even describe this, what he did to me with his body, but basically told me to suck on something and got in his truck and left and said, you're lucky I don't effing knock over all of those pillars. Okay? So I called the police. The police took them an hour and a half to get there. I waited all that time for them to show up. So they did show up. I did have time to get his license plate. So I gave the license plate number to the officer and I told him the story that I just told you. The people that he fixed their lock were there. I do have a witness to all that and his abusive language and everything that he did there. Officer left. And I called a friend of mine that's in the, police department and said, hey, I had this situation happen. What do you think is going to happen? He says, well, if it's in Columbia, we can expect nothing to happen. And that's exactly what happened. Nothing. The officer that came out, like I say, gave me that information. I gave him that information. I never heard from him. I called back to the police department after 2 weeks. They acted like they didn't even know about the situation. And then they shipped me over to records because I wanted this guy's name and insurance information because I called my insurance company, okay, and they said they don't want to get involved. You call his insurance company and tell them to send an adjuster out, okay? As the gentleman mentioned earlier, I cannot get his name or the insurance information from our police department so that I can do anything. Basically, you're telling me, heck with you. So, yeah. But basically, I'm stuck. And that's why I'm here tonight. I feel that this guy, one, should be charged for trespassing because I have a sign up in my parking lot. The other thing he should be charged for is leaving the scene of an accident without providing providing this information. And the other thing, you should be charged for disorderly conduct. It's not only my opinion, but I have a witness for that. And the other thing is basically it's reckless driving. And none of that. Why isn't he charged? There's no charges with that. And the thing that disturbs me the most is the reason they don't have insurance, that they don't know what the insurance information is the officer never checked that license plate. So I agree with what's been said before. Nothing's being done. Mayor Lutz, I do want to congratulate you. Thank you. I called you on Friday. You did return my call on Saturday. You told me that the borough, that the police chief would call me. She did call me today. We missed each other. I called the borough manager. I never heard from them. So, yeah. Those comments, as you just said, called me, I told you, the chief called you, but you didn't connect.
Right.
The chief is still working on that.
Okay. I just want you to know that that officer did call me today, because he obviously doesn't know that you're working on it. Okay. So you know the message he left me? He left me a message and said that that's on private property. We can't do anything about it. We do not have any insurance information for you. And I'm leaving for vacation, so I won't be back for 2 weeks.
For the chief.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes citizen comments. Minutes for approval. Consider approval of the Borough Council meeting minutes for May 26, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Meyer, second by Councilman Easy, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for May 26, 2026. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay, ayes have it. Consider approval of the Borough Council meeting minutes for June 2nd, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Cooper, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for June 2nd, 2026. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Presentation, 9/11 National Memorial Trail.
This was over. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Jeff McCauley. I'm the president of the September 11th National Memorial Trail Alliance. 2026 marks the 25th anniversary of September 11th, and the Alliance's goal is to connect the three memorial sites through a multi-use recreation trail. The informational, and I apologize if I don't have enough for everybody, information being passed out to you. The Alliance is seeking council approval for the installation of wayfinding signage. There will be 4 new signposts, a total of 8 new signs to guide users along the designated 9/11 Memorial Trail route. The route itself was that came together from a 2015 statewide Pennsylvania Department of Conservation Natural Resources routing study throughout the entire state of Pennsylvania.
Are you leaning towards the middle of?
Oh, I apologize. And so the Alliance is, as I mentioned, is seeking the approval from council for the installation of the signage. The Alliance is looking to do this throughout the state of Pennsylvania. We already have the approval of, I believe, PennDOT District 8 covers the borough. And so we already have all the approvals of PennDOT for state roads. And we are very close to having approvals throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Municipalities on the title page of the signage packet that I passed out have already offered their approval. And if council is desired, we can enter into a license and maintenance agreement for the Alliance to take care of the signage, and I can provide a template to your solicitor for their approval, for review and approval. That concludes. I'm happy to take any questions. Page 10 is the page in your signage, county-wide signage plan packet that corresponds to the borough.
Okay. Where would you be going from 462?
It would be coming off, I believe, State Route 422, making a square. Yeah, a right on the northwest, northwest line. Correct, yes. So, yeah, as I mentioned, the Alliance is doing this throughout the state. The Alliance is about to hire a contractor to get started in other counties that have full approval. And we're hopeful that Columbia Borough will also provide for the installation of the signage to fully complete lights.
Question, will you be installing them yourselves on approval or providing to the borough to install?
Medici Contracting, the Alliance has funding to pay a contractor to do this throughout the entire state of Pennsylvania. Medici Contracting out through Zone County, it was the contractor that won the bid, and we are in the process of getting the agreement signed. Notice of award went to them today. And so we'll have new signs, new 10-foot poles, and bolts, breakaway posts. The contractor will be making one massive 811 811 call for all the signage locations. And now I can't give a schedule of exactly when we'll get to the borough, but I would assume it will be shortly after the 811 notification is given.
Need to be permanent.
They are designed to be permanent, which is why I had mentioned license and maintenance agreement. If desired by council, I can provide a template to the manager, which can be forwarded to the solicitor.
Thank you. So I have a question for you. It looks like on page 10, we're following that lines. Okay.
Yes.
It looks like two signs are going to be on Water Street, which we just had a discussion about under construction links. So is this something you look into going very shortly?
We were hopeful to have the entire state installed, or have all the signs installed across the state by September 11th, in time for the 25th anniversary. But, construction, route changes, things happen. I'd be happy to work, I could just issue a change order to our contractor that, would cause installation on Walnut Street if that.
Can I see this?
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind the opportunity to review the proposed locations. As far as Walnut Street goes, that project will technically still be underway, and we'll have a contractor, within their work period. But I would suspect probably within the next month and a half, the concrete work there is going to be done. So far, the contractor has been very accommodating, so we could likely accommodate an installation somewhere on that street. And it would be nice. I'm just thinking if we have the location now, we might be able to accommodate it better as we're pouring new sidewalk in there.
I was thinking that. Yeah. I was like, I'm looking at you and I'm like, I think that.
Yeah.
needs to-
Okay. It's really not, I mean, again, you're gonna, how big, you know how wide the sign base is?
It's a standard PennDOT sign base. It's a 10-foot pole, and then I think the sign base is 2.5, 2.25 inches in diameter.
I mean, it honestly, it's not that big of a deal to take a core drill and install a sleeve and do it that way, so. Let me take a look at this, though. I can advise the borough, and we should be able to accommodate it.
If if it's, like, as I mentioned, I don't have a construction schedule based on the massive nature of how many one calls have to be placed, but, if, and I'm just, the Alliance has enough new poles to go throughout the entire state. If I don't know if the borough has extra poles, but if the current contractor wanted to leave space, we had the poles installed, the Alliance can, replenish your street poles from our collection that we have to install, if that makes things easier from what the work you already have.
Thank you.
That is correct, yep. On page 2 of your technical specifications, it states all of that.
Looks like it's going down. It looks like it'll come across 462, turn right to Josie, and it'll come down. Like the lease is coming down Walnut.
Yeah,
Both directions, that helps.
Sounds good. Can I get your name one more time?
My name is Jeff McCauley.
And actually, that's a good route because that actually corresponds with what we're trying to do when the bridge is redone, with our signage directing people across the bridge and to the trail, so it fits perfectly.
That's good to hear, thank you.
It's a good idea.
You're looking for immediate action, as in like our next meeting?
Yes, if you could, again, I can send a template over for a license and maintenance agreement tomorrow at some point to the manager, and or I could, if it's possible, if the solicitor has a card with him, I can just email it directly. But that's
You just send it to me.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, if it would be possible to vote at the next meeting, that way we would be able to have permission secured in time for the calling of EA1 call out. That would fit well within the Alliance's timeline to have this done throughout the state.
Well, we're going to set the agenda, Patrick, Brown will let you know. It's going to be well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Now, let's keep on.
First, the good, then the bad. I have a proclamation I want to read, and it's designating Pride Month, the month of June 2026. And it reads, whereas this nation was founded upon the principles that every person is created equal, that each has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that each shall be accorded the full recognition and protection of law. And whereas Pride Month is a time to recognize and celebrate the impact of LGBTQA plus individuals locally, nationally, and internationally. And whereas our community is strengthened by the rich diversity of our residents, LGBTQA plus residents and visitors should feel valued, safe, and empowered and supported by their peers, educators, and community leaders. And whereas it is essential that our LGBTQA plus youth be accorded the freedom to be themselves without fear and live free from reprisal and discrimination or bullying. So now therefore I, Leo Lutz, Mayor of the Borough of Columbia, do hereby proclaim June 2026 as Pride Month in the borough. Now, I don't know if anybody else was going to report on this, but I will, because I'm rather upset about it. Recently, we've had at least 2 I'll say too new to recent instances of vandalism in Maple Park. The last picture I saw, someone threw a lawnmower up on one of the kid areas, up on the piece of play equipment. This stuff has to stop. A lot of money was spent in that park. A lot of work was done. We have been patrolling that regularly. We're even going out to the tune of, what do you think it is, Jack? Several $1,000s to install new cameras in there. $15,000 plus several $1,000s in tree removal that we made over the past week to try to cut down on this. Someone's seen this happen, but apparently they don't care what's happening to their community and to the park. And we try to create something beautiful and usable for the children in our community, to have it ruined by individuals. And these aren't little kids that are in there playing on that equipment. These are adults. I consider them adults. They may be young teenagers, but to me they're adults. And what I'm going to say tonight is I'm going to offer a $100 reward for any information leading to the arrest of an individual doing damage to Maple Park. It has to stop. And as I said earlier, if we have to shut that park down, we will shut that park down.
We'll throw $100 in on that to make it 200.
There you go. We need to stop.
If you'd like to see the pictures, I did post them online, so if you want to see them, they're there. And I know a number of people shared the post. Speak a little closer.
We recently had applicants do their oral interviews. We have 4, so we will start doing background investigations on them. Hopefully we can get 1 or 2 off of that list. We had the Firemen's Parade on Saturday. It was a great event. I just want to thank the fire police. We had over 26 fire policemen there and women helping out, so it was phenomenal. It was cool to see all the old fire apparatus. Oh, jeez. You would have to ask the expert Joe. There was a lot. I know by the time I got to the end of the parade, I was able to get back to the police station and watch some of the parade, so it was nice that I got to see some of it. Also, the Columbia Car Show will be June 20th from 10 to 2, and the Lions Club has over 515 cars registered for that event, so that's exciting. That's all I have.
On to action items. Authorization for bill payments.
I make a motion that we authorize the bill payments as presented in tonight's packet.
I'll second. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Motion by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Zinn, to authorize bill payments. Yes, sir.
Eric, do I understand this $51,656, is that what we have left to work with? Or what don't I understand here?
No, that's the total of the checks that were written in this check run.
So where does that leave us once you pay them?
Our current balance, fund balance, is around 3.9 million.
After this was paid?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns? Oh, no, sorry.
I think the last time I saw that was like 2.3 million. Is the new number based on taxes that we brought in? Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Holly.
Jesse? Oh, we're off.
We're all of that.
Please. So I have a motion, no other comments? A motion by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Zink. To pay the bills. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Authorize staff to re-advertise for bid proposal for McGinnis property.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Zink, second by Councilman Murphy, to authorize staff to re-advertise for bid proposal of McGinnis property.
Go ahead, Heather.
I have a question. In light of the fact that we are marching forward with proposed changes to the zoning ordinance, are we able to make a note in the RFP to that effect to say, you know, because we do have the section in there on zoning. Is it possible just to put a note and say, council is in the process of updating the zoning ordinance for the light business district to possibly change or to add requirements for data centers, like something to that?
It absolutely is possible to do that. Frankly, I would feel a lot more comfortable putting something in there like that if you had authorized, staff to send that to the Planning Commission and the Lancaster County Planning Commission for so that way it's an actual draft ordinance, which we don't quite have yet. But that, I would feel much more comfortable if we were at that stage putting that in there. But you can put a note in there to say that.
Because my concern is this. First and foremost, the longer we don't rebid it, it's just time that we're wasting. Because, we have to do that because of the law. But my second concern is, if we don't at least alert people that the zoning ordinance changes are being considered, even though we don't know what they are, that someone could make the argument that I didn't know you were changing, you were considering changes, so
That changes my bid.
that changes my bid. And I don't want that or to say you are legally bound to honor the current zoning. Because even though, that would be a legal fight because they,
Exactly. Yeah, with
those legalities, but I would rather be upfront that we are in the process of enacting changes. Even something as simple as we don't have those exact, you know what I mean? I don't know how detailed we need to be.
Yeah.
I understand your concern about we haven't sent anything to the planning commission, we haven't sent it to the county planning department. However, if we wait until we get to that point, we will have wasted likely 2 months waiting for that.
Can we also make it conditional? And can we put a credit check in there in the metric? Because I don't,
Well,
depending on the
let-
bids
let-
on all.
hold on a second, let's stay on this topic here. Because I'm not sure clear on this. Are you saying that even though we started an amendment to the draft of the text, that it doesn't hold water until we get to the point where it's visiting the planning commission?
It actually, the pending ordinance doctrine is state law, but that basically says until you have advertised it, somebody could submit an application for something under the old zoning, whatever the previous zoning was. But obviously you guys are in control of that. I think by the time if we could get, because Kelly, you was going to talk about this, but you've sent over that kind of the final draft of what you'd like to see in that ordinance. If we could get that to the point where you guys would feel comfortable authorizing that to be sent to the planning commission's next, at your meeting on the 23rd, then I think you you would be well on your way by the time any bids were open, and certainly nobody's coming in on whatever project ends up out there. Project of that size, you're not gonna have plans or anything until significantly further away than when you have that ordinance amendment.
Yeah, the land development process itself would likely take many months.
Exactly.
I mean, we're looking at probably a year
Mhm.
for that process to take, and that's why it didn't make sense to me to hold up a rebid because it's just wasting time.
My thought was just to have something a little bit more concrete than we are considering amendments to the ordinance. But I think either way, I think you'd be okay.
So that process would look like waiting. So like, for instance, at our next meeting, we send that, direct staff to send that to the planning commission, that amendment. Then we would re-advertise with that language in there, having already sent it to the planning commission. I mean,
Well, no, we would not put all of the language.
yeah, not all of the language, but saying that it's, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Changes if we consider, yeah.
That way, if somebody was considering bidding and they ask you for, say, hey, what changes are you considering? Then you could hand them that document.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just have,
No, Council.
I'm sorry, I can't ask a question.
Not right now, council speaks first.
So, I think Ethan, has another question to me. Planning commission. How long will it take once we say this is yours, we want? What's the time frame? Let's assume we pay something next.
Yeah, the 23rd meeting, yeah.
Yes. And we say we're ready to move forward. Does it go to the planning commission and we can advertise at the same time, or do we have to wait for it?
You could. I prefer to wait to advertise until you get the comments back from both your local planning commission and the county planning commission, because if they propose major changes to the ordinance, then your advertisement may not be correct, and if it is materially different than what you would advertise, then you've got to advertise again anyhow. So I like to get those comments back from both of those before we advertise. I don't know what, Heather, do you know how long, like what the deadlines are for Lancaster County
Yeah,
planning?
I'm just
Okay.
looking at that.
Okay.
If we vote on the 23rd to send it to our planning commission, to the planning commissions, the local planning commission would have it on for July 21st, and we would be looking at the August 10th meeting for county planning commission.
Is your first meeting in August after the 10th?
Yes, because the first thing would be a work.
Yes.
Yes.
The first voting meeting in August is August 11th.
Okay.
So it's the day after. And I'm not sure, that might actually be one of those. I'm not sure if they're gonna wanna kick it to the staff is gonna send a comment, or if they're gonna kick it to the full commission. I forget like what the requirements are there.
Yeah.
but you're not saying you're not saying that we should wait until we advertise. You're saying you just want to get it sent over to planning.
Exactly, yeah, that way I'd like to have an ordinance so that if you send out a bid that has a line in there that just says, hey, we're considering amendments to this is likely what it's going to look like. You can then hand that to a potential bidder, say, here's what we're looking at. That's all I think. You just don't want it to be amorphous where they don't know what those potential changes could be.
So my understanding is you're suggesting we table this, bid until.
The rebid until the 23rd, that would be my suggestion. I think there were some good points made here tonight as well that hopefully, we can have that buttoned up by the 23rd.
And that way it will give me an opportunity to update this document. I want to note the document that was included in your packet was not the same document that we advertised and, published last time. That, the one that you saw is the original before we had made changes, to incorporate some of the things that needed to happen to align with the act. Namely, we've removed, and we will need to know, dates. So, I mean, if we could talk about how many days we want to leave it open. We also, are we doing another pre-bid meeting? And if so, when are we going to do that? If not, I can remove it from here.
There are also two changes I think that delaying the advertisement could benefit from. One being, we were talking earlier about the situation with EDC from last year, about why they decided to no longer sell the project. But in talking with the manager earlier today, it seemed like they were interested in helping, like as of 2 days ago. Is that right, Jack?
Yes, I was in a meeting at the Crossings with John B. Miller and others, and they did voice their support of the project, or sale of the property, and any their willingness to assist with the sale.
So I'm wondering if potentially something has changed in their minds about if they do want to work with us to have it sold rather than going through the sealed bid. But
no, they are not able to do that. They are not. They will not act as a pass-through. Their attorney will not let them act as a pass-through. So their willingness to help is more of spreading the word, advertising, getting things out there, not we're willing now to act as a pass-through. Yeah.
And the other reason that could be beneficial is after speaking with Evan earlier tonight, Tom and I, we were talking about how we can make the process more transparent once bids come in. And we were discussing that there is wiggle room for us to release information from the bids in a form of an executive summary after the bid unsealing. I've put together a quick little thing that we can obviously take more time to if we delay re-advertising by 2 weeks. That would basically define what becomes public after the bid unsealing. And it would be similar to the fact sheet that Evan had sent us 2 weeks ago for the previous bid review. And as far as we're aware, we are allowed to release information as long as we are specifying what information we're releasing, and it's not any privileged information that they included in the bid. So not the entire bid, but information that way. It's not just, here's the name and number. It's also some information about what they intend to use it for, floor area, job creation, stuff like that. I'd really like to get that included in this bid packet before we re-advertise, just to help inform the public and avoid some of the confusion from the last time where it was just what is being built and we can't really say anything.
Heather, you're looking at me funny, and I understand that.
Yeah, I'm confused because why does it have to be in the bid packet what we're going to do after that? That doesn't.
The specific idea was putting language in describing, saying, by submitting a bid for consideration, you approve of the following information to be made public in an executive summary after all bids have been unsealed, just so they are aware.
Yeah, just to make it aware,
Yeah.
that, so that way there's no confusion, and they know that if they submit a bid, that information will be made public prior to the award of the bid.
Fair enough. Yep, I sent it to
Yeah,
Evan.
I have it, yeah.
So-
Yeah, you just sent
Can
it
you
to me.
just send me the verbiage so I can put them in copy?
And what I have listed here is name, price, proposed land use, floor area, job creation figures, construction cost, estimated value and tax revenue per year at project completion, and project timeline and milestone summary. That last one might be a bit too much information, so I can understand if we want to cut that last one or those last two. But I think even at the very least, including the proposed land use is helpful.
When we discussed this, Ethan, and we were talking about releasing that possible information as we were getting the bids.
No, so at the unsealing,
At the
so,
unsealing, yeah.
yeah, they get unsealed, and then later that day, ideally, the municipal office releases a summary for each received bid with this information.
That way I can, let the public is informed about that.
We get it. Let me just go back to the timeline.
Yep.
Our timeline is, it goes to planning commission the 21st, which is Columbia. No, Columbia's back.
Oh, July 21st, sorry.
July 21st. Last to planning commission, August 10th, and August 11th, we voted.
Correct.
Okay.
You vote to advertise at that point in time.
Right.
Yep.
So with that being said, this is a hot topic item. I'm proposing to table this until July 13th. That gives us a July 6th work session. Have a full discussion with everybody. It still meets the Columbia Planning Commission timeline, and it still meets Lancaster County.
How far in advance does Lancaster County need it? That's my concern.
If Lancaster County does not get the submission, I believe it's the end of the month,
It won't go till September.
it won't go till September. If they don't get it by the end of this
Yeah,
month.
they need a lot of time.
They need a lot of time. Especially this time of year, there's no way you're getting anything through in an emergency, anything like this through, because the amount of land development stuff is huge. The amount of things going through are huge. This month we've had 18 triple hits.
So let me ask this question. You talked about changing from a use to a.
So one of the things that I had brought up to Eric and Kelly, I was trying to think outside of the box about how to do this. And everyone says right off the bat, well, just make it a special exception. But in the zoning, with a special exception, you have to spell out the requirements for that exception. And if all of those requirements are met, it's allowed by right. So, thinking about this, I think it makes more sense to change it not to special exception, but to change it to conditional use. And the reason I think that is because of changing to a conditional use, since it is a hot topic and it is a very rapidly changing situation in industry, it would allow, first of all, conditional use has to come before the legislative body. It doesn't go, it takes our staff and our other boards, namely Planning Commission and Zoning Hearing Board, out of the line of so-called fire from the public and puts it squarely on the legislative body to decide if it is allowed to proceed.
You would generally still get a recommendation from your
Well,
planning
you
commission,
would,
but yeah, it's not a
yeah,
final
they're
decision.
not going to be the ones to take a lot of heat and everything else from it. Also, a conditional use requires a conditional use hearing at a public meeting. And that conditional use hearing would allow us to ask questions that we may not, that may be like emerging questions that are coming out that we didn't have time to put in a zoning ordinance yet. So it would allow us greater leeway to address things that may or may not have already made it into a zoning ordinance or any kind of ordinance. To me, that makes sense. It was kind of an outside the box and was like, wait a minute, everyone's saying special exception, but I think conditional use is the way to go.
When I heard you talking about conditional use and looking up, I think this makes way more sense than special exception. So,
Right, yeah. See, I'm learning the zoning stuff too.
So what you're saying is, by the 23rd, we have to change to.
Well, the new ordinance will include changes to the table of permitted uses. It'll also include that, we just have to add it in there.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
for your timeline, I looked up the county submission requirements. It's 45 days for an ordinance, which puts you at June 26th. So if you approve on the 23rd and submit by the 26th, it will be heard at the August 10th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you.
Now, again, I'm not sure if you're going to have comments back on the 11th, or Heather, you could tell me, do they release comments the same day?
They will. They'll have their comments. If it doesn't go to the full board, we will likely have the comments from the planning department prior to that meeting. But at least in our office, we will. They'll send them to whoever submits that request. But I will also see them in my packet when I get my packet the week before the meeting, the meeting, and I'll get it like that Wednesday before. So, I mean, I would be able to pull that out and send those comments as well if we haven't received them Wednesday.
Changing to a conditional use. It's a lot safer because you could have someone purchase the property and then tell you later on, this is what I'm going to build. This prevents that because you will grant a conditional use based on the condition.
Whatever conditions we set.
You set. The other thing, I believe, they want to help you. But a conditional use, if the property is, if it's sold, if the business is sold, that use goes away.
Not necessarily.
No, it still follows it as long as it remains exactly the same.
Yeah, that's what I mean. As long as it remains the same, it stays there.
Yeah.
But someone could, otherwise, someone could sell the property and you could end up with something there you don't want.
Correct. And I think if I remember correctly from the MPC, if you do a conditional use and the property is sold, I think the period for that use to continue, like if that use stops, they only have 30 days to continue that before it becomes.
I think you are correct. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure but yeah, that
That's
sounds
one
right.
of those,
Yeah.
because I know it's less time than
Than a
the
variance
regular,
or
than the
special.
regular zoning ordinance, or the existing non-conforming use.
Yeah, there's many protections in a conditional use versus.
Yes, there are.
Any other comments?
So,
The only other thing I wanted to worry about was the credit worthiness of the other guys involved.
So in our matrix, financing is one.
Financing is, but do they pay their bills? That's what I'm looking at.
That's our job.
That's how, that's our due diligence.
Okay, so that's what we do.
Unfortunately, it only happened one day.
Yeah, I know, but still.
So, everybody satisfied with what they heard? Yes.
I just wanted clarity on something.
Mhm.
So, sure, it's Missy Stein. Considering that there is a conflict of interest between you guys approving the sale of the land and changing the zoning, are you saying that the new zoning that you're putting into effect will be locked in before the bids put out?
Yeah,
No, not exactly. It'll be kind of a concurrent timeline almost.
Yeah.
However, it will be obvious to anyone wanting to submit a bid what changes we are proposing and what they will be bound to.
You understand my concern. It's that someone could then say, well, because of this conflict of interest.
And that's why we have this discussion.
Yeah.
There's no conflict of interest.
Well, because you're the ones approving the sale while changing the zoning.
We did that last time too.
Yeah,
I mean-
but to me, a lay person, it's you're making, you're selling it and you're also making the rules that they have to follow. So there is somewhat of conflict of interest if you're in control of the way it comes and the way it goes.
No, that's we're still bound by the state laws and the municipal planning code, and the municipal planning code gives us the ability to do this. And I mean, it's no different than we're trying to sell the wastewater treatment plant. If we wanted to change zoning down there, we could.
I understand. I'm saying from like the company doing the bidding standpoint, does that open us up to a
No,
liability?
and that's why we want to advertise in our.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we are changing the rules.
Okay, I just wanted to understand that that was being like.
Yeah, I mean, technically, we would not even have to do that. However, for transparency and to remove any kind of potential liability, that's why I'm suggesting adding that line in there.
Yeah.
Copy that. I'm sorry if I was confused.
No, you're
in the way that I said.
No, I just don't want anyone that, I've heard several different people say it's a conflict of interest because you're selling property and making rules for that property. But it's no different than any other property owned by any municipality across the state. That's just the way it works.
Okay.
I will clarify that we specifically want to get this process started officially, like even if it's not finished, to specifically, because it feels bad to just change the zoning on somebody without giving them any sort of warning while they're preparing bids.
And that's
Yeah.
my worry, is that then that opens them
Yeah.
up to say, well, we can do it.
Yeah, so that's what we're trying to avoid
Yeah,
too.
and that's what I wanted clarity on. Thank you so much.
Just had a question. We've been having discussion about special exception and conditional use. But is there any reason that we can't make that property not permitted for data centers? Since there's already a property in the borough that is voted,
That would be a possibility.
why are we not considering that if the goal is to keep data centers out of that property?
I mean, we could continue to consider it between now and the 23rd when we make our vote. It's definitely something that we can consider. It's just sort of weighing the options of how, what is the part. I think part of it is going to come down to the draft legislation that Kelly and Heather are putting together of the limitations of what any data center in Columbia could have, as far as like noise, like minimizing and eliminating as many negative elements as possible, in conjunction with changing the zoning. I think what I'm trying to say is, yes, we can consider it.
Making it as hard for them as possible.
But making it even more difficult would be changing it to not permitted.
That's true.
I think the concern would be if that other property that you mentioned does get sold, then there is no longer an acceptable location for it, for one to be built in general industrial.
Why would that be if?
Well, because then we would not have a valid one in another zoning. Would that be correct, or am I?
Yes, you have to be careful if you, for instance, just as an example, right? Let's say you didn't want them anywhere, but you wanted to say that you followed the law, so you allowed zoning data centers in the, medium density residential where there's nothing but, quarter acre lots with houses on them. All right, that's exclusionary zoning. You have to allow it in a place that it could potentially be exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so if that property, for instance, that you mentioned in general industrial no longer became available, the only other alternative viable site would be potentially McGinnis, in which case we do have to zone to allow it somewhere in the town.
What could happen to
Because that's-
ASC
so-
to change it from not being a suitable location?
Well, like if somebody purchased it and used it for an entirely different purpose, if that property no longer became available for use in that case.
But even if it's sold and even if they change the purpose of ASC to something else, it would still be zone permitted for data centers.
It would be.
Okay, then I'm misunderstanding. My mistake.
But then all the questions about data centers go from this parcel to this parcel.
Basically, all you're doing is shifting the location. The
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code says that you have to allow for every use somewhere, or else it's allowed everywhere in your municipality by special exception. So you can't just ban a specific use and say it's not allowed at all. Because that's what would happen, just as an example, the one you see a lot is adult bookstores or things like that. People would like to ban them entirely, but you cannot.
Now, an additional step we could also put it under conditional use in general industrial as well.
You could.
We could do it in both locations.
But you could also change McGinnis to not permitted and the AFC property to special exception
Yeah.
to protect that in the future, but that doesn't mean that you can. So McGinnis not permitted completely.
Yeah, it's something that we'll have to consider before the next meeting when we submit that
But
document.
what I say is, the problems that is you're bringing to light of the inner site, now they're seeing problems will exist in the other side.
But we could make that special
So
exception
it's
or
kinda like,
conditional use.
Not in my backyard.
Right, but we,
Someone
but we,
else's backyard.
right, but that's in the future. I think our immediate need is to keep McGinnis free from the data center. If something happens and AFC is sold in the future, then we can have the either special exception or conditional use to protect AFC as much as possible if that location is sold.
So if you make this a not permitted use and then you only make that one area one, you're like, I know what you're just saying, you're kind of like kicking it down the road. So what happens 5 years from now? Somebody comes in and wants to put one in there. You're not going to be able to say no.
But then we
You're not
have
gonna be able to
as
say no
many
because it has to be
protections
permitted.
in place as possible, if that happens.
I think you'd want that
Our immediate need
anywhere.
right now is to protect McGinnis.
I think you'd want that in anywhere. Anybody, and everybody in town would agree, they would want it anywhere, not just at McGinnis. They would want it anywhere you would want to put something like this. Where?
Or no?
I wanted to just go back to the RFP just for a minute. And it was my understanding that the council vice president wrote the RFP for this. Is that correct?
Yes.
And will you be doing the next one for the bid or using the same or?
Well, I'll be updating a few things, but yeah, I mean, I can do that unless,
I wanted to know why, if we have paid employees, why council would be writing RFPs, especially for a project of this scope. How did that fall to you?
how did that fall to me? Because at the time, we had a manager that was also acting as the police chief, staffing was tight. And frankly, I was sick of waiting for it to get done, so I got it done. I got information from Lancaster EDC. I worked with John D. Miller. I used the framework of a Lancaster City project that they did. I used the framework and I just sort of, changed some things and made it applicable to McGinnis. I then sent that out to John B. Miller, Lancaster EDC. I sent it to Derek. I sent it to Evan. Sent it to Jack to get comments, and that's how it came to be.
Okay, so there were a lot of other eyes on it.
Oh, there were a lot of eyes on it, yes.
Okay.
Because trust me, I did not feel comfortable doing something of this magnitude. I had never done it before.
Well, that's what my next question was going to be, if you had done any before, because I just feel like if we, as taxpayers, are paying paid employees to do this, it doesn't seem right that it would fall on a council person then.
The reality is none of our staff has ever done this either.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Well, we do this all the time. Kelly writes ordinances.
Well, right, but no one's ever written.
No, I understand. There's work that.
Oh, yeah, there are. Yeah.
That people chip in to help.
Yes,
But it all goes through the
Oh, yeah.
scrutiny.
Yeah, it's not just Columbia.
It goes through the scrutiny before it's made official.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's not just Columbia. A lot of other areas, they're their houses.
How does what we're doing here, if what Governor Shapiro is doing as far as fast tracking tax credits and stuff that's up in the air right now, does that impact anything we're doing here?
No, it would be his,
Because he's talking about fast tracking.
yes, he is.
And I love him, but
Yes, he is. And he's
He
the
likes
one
his favorite data center.
that declared Pennsylvania is open for data centers and is now causing all of the individual municipalities to be scrambling to put things in place.
so what we're talking, you had mentioned earlier, would be a safeguard against it.
What he's putting in place, now, see, and this is where I think people get confused.
Well, I'm not gonna, because it's
So,
not clear.
well, right. So that's, I'm not trying to be,
I don't mean you're not.
no, I'm
None
not
of
trying to
this-
be rude or anything, but
No, you're
this is the reality. Just because something is in our zoning ordinance does not mean it's open season. There are still things that need to happen. If someone came in and they wanted a data center, it's not like they would be able to pay for the land and start work on it next month. There is a whole lot of steps that go into it. What the governor is proposing in the fast tracking is fast tracking on the state level. Additionally, as part of the land development process, they would have to go through PPML or electric usage and get that worked out and get approvals there. They would have to go to the Susquehanna River Basin Commission and get approvals for anything that would affect river usage, river anything. They would have to get their approval from there. Similar to the way, like when they're talking about TMI reopening, they have to go to the SRBC to get approval for that kind of stuff. And just fun fact, at the height of the TMI, it drew more water per day than any data center in Pennsylvania is going to draw. So I'm just fun fact. I thought that was interesting because I'm too young to remember that stuff. But yeah, so I mean, there's a whole lot of different steps.
I'm not too
In this. There's a whole lot of steps. So what he's doing is the stuff at the state level. We're trying to put the guardrails on for our local level. But we're also fighting, and this is another layer to it, and something we're going to address a little later on in the meeting, is there are state legislation that is attempting to be pushed through that would negate local zoning officials, zoning ordinances, so we would not be able to control it. So while we can still control it, we want to control it.
And now, throw another one to mention, because this is a big piece of land. Is it big enough to house operation between the center?
No, and honestly,
Because that would also be a bad thing.
honestly, our zoning ordinance does not allow any institutional uses in that zoning district.
That's terrible.
But really, the regs that the governor wants to put in only apply to receive state funding.
Right.
So if the local municipality approves it, and then they go to the state and want some funding, then they have to meet that criteria.
Our criteria?
No,
Our
the
criteria
governor's.
plus the states in order to get the money. So what he's saying is, what he really is saying is, if you want our money, then you'll follow these rules. But he didn't come back and say, but you also must follow the local municipality.
That's just kind of understood,
Yeah.
but people forget that fact. But there's so many layers to this, and the information being put out is being put out in bits and pieces, and you know, it's our job to see how this all fits together, so.
I called Harrisburg this meeting because of what's going on at the state level. They're supposed to be doing.
Any month now.
Well,
I called Malone and I called Governor Shapiro's office. There's a lot going on.
Well, I will tell you, last week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Gene and I attended the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs Conference in Hershey. And I don't think there was any session that I was in that the term data center was not part of the conversation.
It's an issue everywhere.
I was in two different legal stuff, and there was extensive discussion on initiative. So.
Yes, Frank.
Can we talk about where we're going from this? This vote that you're taking is almost a given that you're going to re-advertise. Am I correct?
The motion on the floor is to re-advertise the bid.
Okay, so most likely that's going to go because that's the second time you're bidding it.
But we haven't voted on it yet. Right?
No, but let's say that it is. If you don't vote yes, how do you know what's out there that maybe wants to come in here other than a data center? If you don't vote, you don't know what's out there. So I don't know how you cannot vote for it. But will that go, the 45 days, then that goes in effect? Then you apply for it?
To go on dates and everything else.
But you had 45 days to the next time that you rebid, is what I understood. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's how long the bid has to be.
Maybe this time we decide to keep it open for 30 days.
Okay, that's good. And when I come to these meetings, I always learn something. The gentleman that was up there, I think had the pink shirt on, said that you said that after the second bidding, then you can open it up to the public. How would that work?
Not open to the public. It means we can work directly with a realtor or I would just say directly with a buyer, a purchaser, on the terms, just like any other real estate transaction.
I will note that it has to be 2 times with no bids received, not a bid that you rejected, but 2 times that there is no bid received. Then it can be sold essentially as you would a private party sale.
So let me ask you something. Is it no bids received or no qualifying bids?
No bids.
So if we put this out here and we don't get a bid, we still have to do it another time.
Well, that will be my interpretation of the way that falls.
Well, I don't understand how qualifying bid can be considered a bid.
Well, you're talking about it has to be responsive bid, like.
I believe it just says no bids
No
received.
bids.
Yeah, I will double check on that obviously, but my understanding is it's no bids having been received. Yeah.
Please.
So when you do this, can you change the rules in the game?
What do you mean changing the rules?
Yeah.
Whatever specified when you would bid it, do you have to stick with that when you deal with individuals? If you get another bid from a realtor or whoever, do you gotta use them same rules? The selling of the property?
Everybody it has to be the same rules for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure.
Just any of the.
Well, I'm asking that if they go and get a lawyer or whatever to deal with, other than rebidding it the way you've been doing it, can you do that with the same rules that when they rebid it, is what I'm asking.
When you say rules, do you mean like the things that were in our bid specifications that
Yes.
say you need to provide
Yes.
this?
Yeah, what you're making these people do that just bid on it, you might change them a little bit, but you gotta use them.
Correct. You're going to use what is essentially the same thing. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
project on a smaller property. But I believe that's the last time that this situation had come up for, without, public advertising, movement from City Weiss to the
Yeah.
No. I thought we did get bids,
You,
and he was representing one of the bidders. He was not representing us. We did get bids, and then because we got those sealed bids, and we said how much they were, it turned into a bidding war, and Jeff Seibert was representing one of the purchasers.
All right, my apologies.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that just felt like that.
Well, right, I get it,
So I
yeah.
apologize.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, we've had some really interesting stuff here.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'd just like to say, if I was sitting up there, I would not know how to vote on a data center. I would like anyone sitting at the table to go somewhere where they have one of these. It's in Montana or Ohio or wherever it's at. Get the
How do you know
right
they have it?
information, come back and tell us, I talked to the officials, I talked to the people, here is how it's run there. Then I would have something to go on. I hear so much information. And believe me, like I said, if I sit there, I wouldn't know how to vote for it. I know nothing about it, but
I will say, Frank, that's something that Jack and I were discussing earlier, is the possibility of having professionals and researchers come and do potential presentations at council meetings so we can better understand the issue, especially if it's conditional use, especially, then that kind of extends the timeline on when that final decision can be made, and we can have more of those discussions with professionals before a decision gets made.
my only thing is somebody going there and talking to them people is direct. You have somebody that studied this and here's what happened over there. I want somebody that goes there and talk to the officials, the people, then you got good, true information. Now you have something going.
Yeah.
But I don't think that'll happen, but.
Well, maybe they have already, Frank, you don't know. There are local ones in Lancaster County that you can go see.
One more question. The last bid proposal, there was a bid, it was considered not responsive. So are we in a situation where we are now in the first bid?
That's what
First true bid?
I was going to check that.
That is what, yes, I'm just looking at that now. The way the language is written in the law, it is no bids received. But that doesn't mean that courts haven't interpreted that a little differently. I will absolutely look at that. Yeah, yeah. So we can, certainly by the 23rd, if not before, I'll make sure that council knows what the correct answer is for that. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Tony Dastra. Tony Dastra. I checked that. I'm sure that everyone in this room has some level of vision for what they may like to see at this McGinnis site. I just wanted to comment that I think that the current light business zoning as a whole is very restrictive to bidders. And it may be in the borough's interest to not only update the zoning ordinance to accommodate more restrictive data center regulations or conditional uses, but maybe even change the entirety of your light business zoning to maybe call it mixed use zoning, something that would allow for residential uses as well as other uses like a grocery store or whatever. It may be to your interest, especially as the holder of the property, it could increase your value of the property. And that's not spot zoning because you'd be considering the entirety of the district, and it's all in that small area at the south of the borough. So I think it's worth your while to investigate that and consider expanding upon the uses allowed in general. And maybe even as part of your bidding process, consider that you'd be open to combination bids where there's a subdivision of the property. So 2 different or 3 or 4 different owners could each take a piece and develop their own little part. Personally, if I was in your shoes, I'd be fighting to keep the property in borough control, but I understand it's an albatross around the neck right now, and so there's a windfall that can come from developing it privately.
We addressed all that last year in our zoning ordinance update for this. We addressed the lot sizes, the setbacks, the ability to subdivide it, It's subdivided what those minimum lot sizes are. The only, I mean, I think we have in there, because the grocery store was one of the things I specifically wanted to make sure we put in there. I mean, it's pretty, we're never gonna get it. Because grocery stores are looking for high traffic counts, and Manor Street does not have the traffic count to support any sort of grocery store, anything like that.
Sure, and that's valid reasoning, but I think the point I'm really trying to make is not only Columbia, Lancaster, the whole country's going through a housing shortage right now, and the zone doesn't allow for, I think, any residential uses.
Correct.
So
And our rationale for that is that we want to increase the tax base without putting an added strain on our existing social services. More people bring more need for police that we already struggle to attract, because that's all over. You know, police officers are difficult to hire. For a borough, they're even more difficult because of the constraints we're under.
Yep.
It would put a strain, housing would put an additional strain on the school district. Parts of that property are within or outside of the 1 mile limit for busing, so the school district would have to institute busing, which would increase the school taxes.
Sure. Which are property taxes. And I think the heart of all this is that Columbia is in a unique position right now, and I respect what you're putting down. In such a short time, you can't address all the concerns. You're doing enough to just handle the data center concerns right now. But I think it's worth Columbia Borough taking a wider look at this. And your points about the infrastructure demands, the taxing concerns are valid, and maybe even opens up this whole dialogue you might want to have with residents about, well, what if we went to a home rule charter? Because Columbia Borough does overlap the school district of Columbia completely. So if you went to a home rule charter, instead of increasing property taxes, much like the city of Lancaster has been doing, you go to an income tax approach. And furthermore, because it overlaps, you could fund your school district through income tax increases as opposed to property tax increases, and slowly eliminate property taxes. So I didn't come here to have a little diatribe about like taxing powers and whatnot. I just wanted to encourage you that as you go through this next process, if you choose to go through it, you should consider the value you can add and the opportunities you can add by not just amending the data center regulations, but changing the entirety of your light business zone to be more appealing to developers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can't do that because you can, the whole point of this project was to increase the tax base. And you can't restrict, you can't put a deed restriction on that stipulates tax exempt status. The majority of the 55 plus communities and retirement communities are tax exempt. So we can't say you can't put a community on here if you're going to be tax exempt. You can't do that. So if you allow that, you're opening yourself up to having a huge parcel that is tax exempt, and therefore we've increased the need for police, fire, EMS, and all of those things, but we've not added any tax to the rolls. So I mean that's the problem. It's anything that any 501c3, any nonprofit is tax exempt.
I'm sorry, I heard 55 plus as in a community, like an elderly.
A lot of communities, a lot of elderly communities,
Yeah.
a lot of elderly communities are 55 plus are also tax exempt. For example, in Trinity, we have St. John's Herd.
St. John pays, but like St. Anne's.
St. Anne's.
St. Anne's is a tax exempt.
Are they tax exempt because they're 55 plus?
No, they are tax exempt.
They are
Yes, that is one.
And we can't state this property that only taxable buildings can exist. So. Okay. Heather, would you like to continue with your version?
I would like to,
We're talking about dates.
I would like to amend my motion to, instead of it being to authorize to re-advertise the bid, I would like to, make my motion to table the reauthorization, or the authorization to rebid.
The next meeting. So the next meeting.
Until the next meeting.
So we'll say it.
I'll second that.
He already seconded, so he has to be okay with my
Okay,
amendment.
that's it.
So, well, I'm gonna stick with 24.
Yes.
So, any other questions? One question.
Does council have any idea what can go in there that will benefit our tax structure for the borough? Do you know of anything that will work at this point?
Are we aware of anybody interested? Any,
What-
any like
There's a lot of,
I can bring up the zoning table of allowed uses, and I can send that over to you, but that would be the full list of anything that would be allowed there.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of them. All I heard was the negatives that what can't
microbrewery, marijuana dispensary, building supplies and building materials, cement, gypsum, concrete, or plaster products production. Yeah, so there's a whole lot of stuff.
Yes. Ask about the ordinance. It's not on the agenda.
Yeah, that'll be at the next meeting.
It'll be the next. Oh, it'll be the
So-
23rd. It's substantially done.
So currently, right now, and we should be talking about this because it's not on the agenda, but currently, right now, our solicitor gave our best legal team a rough draft. They are rewriting it to present to council. So that's where that would be on this one. All right, we have a motion on the floor to table the re-advertisement of the bid proposal on the Guinness property for the June 23rd, 2026 meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Ayes.
Authorization to rebid publication, and then another item on the agenda too. Yeah. I just wanted to say before I thought my head is so it's gonna be different. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
New business. Consider authorizing staff to send letters to State Senator Malone and Representative Miller, urging them to oppose the proposed legislation regarding zoning. This is the topics that we talked about, the legislation that they're trying to limit our abilities.
Yep, it's all the preemption. I would request that none of those specific numbers necessarily be named. I mean, they can be named, but I would also request that the verbiage oppose any and all pieces of legislation that preempt local zoning control be voted against.
And this letter would go as this body.
Yes, that's what my hope is.
We probably need a motion before we discuss it, right?
I I would like to make a motion that we authorize, that we direct staff to send letters to State Senator Malone and State Representative Miller to oppose any and all proposed state legislation limiting local zoning control.
Second.
The motion on the floor, Councilman Zink, second by Councilman Murphy, to authorize staff to send letters to Senator Malone and Senator Representative Miller, urging them to oppose proposed legislation regarding zoning. I can't if you could say that. Say that.
That's okay.
Thank you. Any feedback, comments, concerns?
Yeah, so I just have a comment that, so the way this is currently set up is sending it as an entire body. So even in the case of if it was like a split vote that still passed, it would still be the entire body.
Yeah.
Could we, and this is just because I have not had the time to fully go through these bills here. And so I don't feel comfortable voting to send a letter in opposition if instead it could be a letter that individual council members sign on to after it is proposed, because I could like.
We are a body of one.
Sure, but.
So, even whether it's a vote for a property sale, it's a vote for limit changes, it's a vote for the leadership, it's a vote for anything, we are a body of one. Majority votes.
Well, and I'm sorry, Aaron, what I will say is, if this is not about these individual bills.
Sure, yeah.
It is about urging them to allow the local municipality to control our own destiny. Whether, there are some of these bills that I actually agree with. What I don't agree with is these bills coming from the state and telling Columbia how to manage our own land development.
Yeah, I understand that. I currently do not have, I feel like, a fully formed enough opinion. And my thought was just, it feels unusual if there is a split vote to then send an entire letter saying the council supports opposing this legislation, for instance. I just think that seems a bit odd. But, well, if there was, I mean, well, split vote isn't like 4-3, is what I mean. Like, that's all I'm saying. I just was wondering if that is an alternative option that we can take.
Just as a note, I've already sent a letter from me personally to Miller and Malone, urging them to oppose these, because I think it is our duty as a council to manage our own zoning. We know what's best.
We don't want them to stay with us by what's going on.
So, you are not comfortable with a letter because you have not read each of the listed.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that is a
fair.
different.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Heather suggested.
Yeah.
That we kind of take out that difference and put in different language where we oppose the state regulating this board.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
Yes, I'm more comfortable with that as opposed to House bills. This is just a point I wanted to bring up, considering that was the initial thing on the
That's fair. You should be given time and the right to look at stuff like that. But as a body, I want to be able to present something to these people as a body. Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
Yet nothing prevents any of us from, as individual taxpayers, from also urging that. I know Mary, with the concept, has also sent her letters.
All right. So, your motion, again, be clear.
The motion is to direct staff to send letters to State Senator Malone, State Representative Miller, urging them to oppose any and all potential legislation that preempts local municipal control of zoning ordinances.
Any questions? Kelly, you do that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Authorize staff to advertise Mill Street Shawnee Run stormwater structure repair and replacement.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
A motion by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Deasy. First question. Are we paying for any of this?
The bid, again, if it comes in at the $60,000 estimate, it'll be 100% grant. So this is the remaining money from the Riverfront DCD grant that we got transferred for this project. Yep.
If it goes over 60, we pay the difference.
You'll have to pay ahead of time to be reimbursed, yes.
If it goes over 60, we pay the difference.
No, not 100%. I think, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact numbers. There's about 80,000 that was transferred. Of that, you can take 10% of the project cost to pay for the engineering, which I assume you will and should. So whatever's left will go towards the project. So it's probably a little closer to 70 that you'll have for it. But my hope is that the bid will come in a little closer to 60. If we get a bid of 150, then we probably need to talk.
Yes.
So.
Now, I know this sounds horrible, but Mr. Ray, are we in a financial position to take on 70,000 cost to get it done?
I would say it would depend on the turnaround time for the reimbursement.
Couple of months, I believe. It comes down to, what it comes down to is when the contractor is paid and ultimately then the paperwork can be turned around to submit.
And looking at our past track record, we have somebody that's going to manage it.
But clear staff will
Yeah.
work with the management agreement.
We manage the reimburse, so your track record, if you want to research this, would be the Riverfront Storm Sewer. It's the same grant.
Right.
You've been reimbursed for that project.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Does your office providing that service, is that part of the grant cost as well?
You could charge that against engineering. We're not talking about a large cost.
No, I want to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
We've had other grants, and I'm not talking about your group, but what
Right.
you've done.
No, this is a grant that C.S. Davidson acquired for the borough. We managed it through the Riverfront. We successfully got the grant funding, the remaining grant funding switched from the Riverfront, reallocated to this. So it would be my intention to manage this with my staff and get it closed out for you.
Thank you.
You bet.
I have a motion by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Greasy, to authorize staff to advertise Mill Street Shawnee Run stormwater structure repair and replacement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Staff reports, comments, and announcements. So let's review.
I don't have much. I think it's going to be a busy week and a half here coming up, but we will get everything ready for that 23rd meeting, so that way we can move things forward.
Engineer Ronaldo.
Just as you've all probably seen around town, both the Union Street project and the Walnut Street project are currently in full swing.
Thank you.
Both going well.
Borough Manager,
At the last council meeting, Vice President Zink inquired about the audit, and I wanted to let council know the audit has been completed. So they are looking at a date, a future meeting, to make a presentation. I'm assuming the next meeting is probably not the best.
No.
Okay.
We also have another presentation.
Okay, yes, we do.
What about the workshop the first week of July?
Um,
That's a good place for discussion.
Do you need much notice?
I think a week or two, yes.
The only reason I'm saying that is I'm concerned that our last meeting probably gets carried over to that.
Understood.
So,
If we have a heavy load for some reason, we can postpone the audit presentation.
and we'll shoot for a workshop.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all right?
Yes.
Thank you. Boards, commissions, and committees, upcoming meetings. Our meeting has been canceled, CCAT, June 10th, 2025. That is held at 5:30 at the Clock and Watch Museum.
It's not gonna be there this June 10th. It's June 10th, it's gonna be at one of all the regular.
It's canceled. Yes, that's right. I'm sorry, I do remember that now. This has been canceled. Parks and Rec will meet June 11th. And Planning Commission, June 16th. Shade Tree Commission, June 22nd. And for minutes approval, last approved April 2026. Borough Council comments. Ethan.
Yeah, so I just have two things. Between now and the next meeting, there's, so first of all, next Wednesday, the 17th, there's going to be a Juneteenth celebration to not overlap on actual Juneteenth with the 300th events that are occurring. That'll be at Lancaster Distillery, I think at 6 to 8? Okay. A Juneteenth event next Wednesday. Other than that, there are two things that I'll be attending. First of all, tomorrow will be the Lancaster County Municipals and Large Load event, basically talking with PPL about the electric draw of, things like data centers, but not just data centers, and specifically talking about how they manage that and the impact that it has locally. So I'll be going to that tomorrow. And then I was also invited to a Pride reception at the Governor's Mansion on June 15th at 5:30. So if you guys have anything you want me to yell at Josh Shapiro, I probably still won't get to meet him, but I'll be attending that next Monday.
Thank you.
I really don't know. I'm just glad to see all of you.
I think I have said enough for tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, but thank you all for hanging in there with me. I like to share my knowledge.
I hope Heather said this.
I have a couple of things. Saturday and Sunday was basketball tournament in Maple Park. That went very well. There was scholarships given out. And pleased that every aircraft revenue for one tournament came out. Saturday was the fireman's parade, which the community came out. The fire company did an excellent job with volunteers. I believe I heard 51 or 71 volunteers came out for that to help the traffic, people control, supplies, everything else, which is excellent. And on that note, the fire company still has shirts available. Reach out to somebody down the fire company and they have 300 fireman's parade shirts available. This coming Friday, no, next Friday, Juneteenth, the Lions Club will have hosts the band. What was it? Capital City Orchestra. That will also be the start of the 300th celebration. So there will be dignitaries, being there, and other people there to start the meeting. But that will be, we will have some people speak, and then the Lions Club will have their concert in the Park Series. So I encourage everybody to come for that as well.
Oh, one thing with this Saturday, while it's not 300th related, but this Saturday morning is Create Columbia's annual Art in the Gardens tour.
That's right.
I am going to miss it, but I am donating some of my inside plant props for them to sell.
So generous.
How many? I don't know, but I have like, my Moses in the cradle is out of control again.
Announcement of next meeting at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. Council will hold a regular meeting. After this meeting, council will have an executive session on a personnel issue. I have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 We got checks to sign.
We do.
Did you give that motion?